Hey, what's going on, everyone? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you. Figured I'd come up here and give you some early Monday morning content and give a quick recap and rundown of WWE's Extreme Rules 2019 pay-per-view that took place Sunday night on the WWE Network. I was here on YouTube live reacting to that pay-per-view like I do for most pay-per-views these days, and we had a good time. I thought the show was very good, and we had a very shocking ending with Brock Lesnar coming out and cashing in on Seth Rollins when a lot of us kind of had a feeling it was going to be Kofi. And that stirred up a lot of controversy and things like that. So I figured I'd come up here and do a quick review. I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible and just briefly run down the card and talk about some of the big moments and the big title changes. Before I do that, I haven't had a chance to plug a few things in a while, so I'm going to do that first. I want to let you guys know there is an exclusive update on the future of my weekly podcast on my website right now. That is set to debut. I haven't got an actual date nailed down yet, but we're looking at the second week in August right now. It's going to be called the Winged Eagle Podcast. My graphics designer created a beautiful logo. I'll show it right here. I wanted you guys to send me your tweets at GoodMicWork with the hashtag Winged Eagle Podcast, just to kind of get the word out that I am bringing that back and I am changing the format of the podcast from what you saw previously. And I'm trying to figure out a much quicker and more efficient way of doing those. And many of those are going to be live. A lot of them are also going to be off camera, but some of them will be on camera. And then I will release the audio to my website for download and on all the podcast sites. So I'm basically eliminating the way I used to previously do podcasts by recording a long audio and then going through and editing it. I'd rather save all of my editing time for other videos, pay-per-view reviews, and this day in histories and mic drops and any other sort of videos that I do. I want to reserve all that type of work for those videos. So that's kind of the plan here throughout the summer as I made these changes. So keep a lookout for that. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We are getting close to 30,000 on the YouTube channel. Would like to get there really soon. And smash that like button. Give this video a like and make sure you get that bell on so you can be notified anytime I upload a video. The links to everything else you need to know about are right down in the description below, so I will shut up now and quit boring you and get into this Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Now, I'm going to run through the matches basically in order, but I'm going to go through them quick. If you want to take a look at my live reaction and how I felt during all of these matches and during all of these outcomes, you're welcome to check that out on my YouTube channel there. I'll probably leave that up for the next day or so, and I generally unlist my live streams after a couple of days because I don't want new potential subscribers coming to my channel and seeing nothing but live streams all over the place. So I usually kind of get rid of those after a day or two, but you can check out my live reaction right now on the YouTube channel. The very first match we got was a match that was announced just a couple of hours before the pay-per-view. It was a kickoff match, Intercontinental title on the line, Finn Balor defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. I didn't get a chance to predict this in my predictions video a couple of days ago, so I predicted it on Twitter right before the match started, and I predicted Balor to retain because it's a kickoff match and 50-50 booking, and all the signs just pointed to that. But Shinsuke scored another victory, pulled off the upset, and he's your new Intercontinental champion, so that's kind of a shock. Why did they do that? I don't know. What's next for Finn Balor? I don't know. I think Finn Balor should join AJ and Gallows and Anderson, join his buddies and form the club. Would love to see that. I even predicted that Finn Balor could possibly show up in the U.S. title match later on. During the live stream, I was saying that. I'm like, well, what if Balor comes out later and helps AJ win? He didn't. But maybe he does something in the future with those guys. So maybe that's on the horizon for him. And if that's the case, I'm perfectly fine with him dropping the belt to Shinsuke. I just wish this mini feud and the matches were treated a little bit better than they were. I mean, this came out of nowhere. We had the match last week that Nakamura won on SmackDown, and then he turns right around and beats Finn Balor. So maybe it was just a quick fix to get that belt off of Balor because they have other plans for him. But if not, I don't know where the hell he goes, just to stay on SmackDown and keep wrestling Nakamura in rematches. I would like to think that they took the title off of him for a reason, not just on a whim. And plus, it was the kickoff show. Not really a fan of the IC title changing hands on the kickoff show, but whatever. Nakamura's the new champ. I would love to see him get back on track as well. I think we can all agree that his time on the main roster, like most NXT talents, has been a failure. So let's see what Nakamura can do with that IC title. Drew Gulak bounced back from his loss to Matt Riddle at the Evolve 10th anniversary show, and he defeated Tony Nese and retained the Cruiserweight title. The main card opened up with the tag match with Roman and The Undertaker taking on Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. No holds barred match. During my predictions video, I was kind of talking like this match was going to be the main event. This shit opened the show. You guys help me out. When was the last time The Undertaker ever opened a pay-per-view? And you know what? The Undertaker looked good. little bit different ring attire. He had a different type of sleeveless shirt. He almost looked a little bit more like he did in 1999, where more of his chest was covered and he was sleeveless. I thought he looked a lot better that way. And the match was really good. Undertaker looked good in there. He really redeemed himself from the horrific match with Goldberg. And I think this was the right type of match to put Undertaker in. It's a tag. He can be protected. Roman can do most of the work. Shane McMahon did a shit ton of work. He dropped an elbow on the Undertaker from the top rope through the announce table and then hit the coast to coast on him after that. And they had this great camera angle of like Drew McIntyre standing up behind the Undertaker about to nail him with the Claymore, and Drew gets speared. Undertaker and Roman Reigns wind up winning the match, and they had the little show of respect at the end with the handshake or whatever. And I don't know what this means. I was hoping that it would mean that McIntyre and Undertaker might be facing each other at SummerSlam. I still think that's a possibility, and that's what I would do with Drew. And I've laid this out in several videos, so I won't repeat everything here, but my long-term plan for Drew McIntyre would be to put the belt on him next year at WrestleMania, and maybe you can have him face the Undertaker here at SummerSlam, and Undertaker puts him over. And then you have Drew go on a winning streak through a couple of pay-per-views. Then he's the sole survivor at the Survivor Series. Then he's the winner of the Royal Rumble. And then he goes into WrestleMania to defeat the champion. I'd love to see Drew achieve that. Maybe Extreme Rules was the beginning of that. Only time will tell. The Revival also retained the tag team titles over the Usos. Aleister Black defeated Cesaro in a hell of a match. And I tweeted out the night before that imagine how great this feud could be between these two if they were treated with even the slightest bit of meaning. I mean, Aleister Black, again, like so many others from NXT, just hasn't had that same magic. And we all have been frustrated with Cesaro for the better part of 5 or 6 years now. So put these two together, maybe it can be a rebirth for Cesaro and really help elevate Aleister Black. I would like to see them do more. I'm hoping that Black's victory over Cesaro, even though it was clean, I hope they find a way to leave the door open for another match and maybe these guys continue and have a series of matches, because this might have been my favorite match of the night. It was damn good. And Black got the win in a lovely match. Bayley defeated Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross in the handicap match. No Sasha Banks. Apparently she busted her face up a little bit training, so maybe she wasn't able to do a run-in or return tonight. Maybe WWE doesn't have any plans for her to return right now at all. But with SummerSlam around the corner, I kind of feel like we could see her back really soon, and that might happen as early as tomorrow night. Braun Strowman defeated Bobby Lashley in the last man standing match. For two guys this big, I wasn't looking that much forward to it. I certainly didn't think this match would be as good as something like Chris Jericho versus Triple H from years ago, but it was a really good and fun brawl between two big men. The finish was a little bit hokey. Lashley got thrown through the crash pad. We saw it. We saw that thing that was built right out of the tunnel. It was kind of like a big box. It almost looked like a wall, but it had a top on it. And Lashley and Strowman both went through it because I think Strowman power slammed him through it. And then he busts through the cardboard wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man from the commercials back in the day. And the referee continues to count Bobby Lashley down, and Strowman wins. And he needed to win that match. I didn't see any other way to do it. I predicted that match pretty confidently in my predictions that absolutely Strowman must win. And there has been some rumblings about a potential push for Braun Strowman. Maybe WWE's going to try again. And given what we saw with Brock Lesnar later on in the show, you know, maybe they're putting that belt on him again to give another guy an opportunity to take it off of him. And maybe they can redeem themselves with Braun Strowman. I'm not really interested in another Strowman and Lesnar match, but maybe I am if Strowman wins. And yeah, I know Brock Lesnar is going to hold the title for 100 years and he's never going to drop it, so stop typing. We had the New Day surprisingly win the SmackDown Tag Team titles in that triple threat match against Daniel Bryan and Rowan and Heavy Machinery. I had Daniel Bryan and Rowan retaining in this match. I predicted this wrong. And the New Day, I think, won their 6th tag team title. That is nuts. So all the gold now sits in the New Day family. Each one of those guys has a championship belt around their waist, and it's a beautiful sight. And how about Daniel Bryan taking the pin in that match? Pretty crazy. Good for him. And now that he has lost the tag team titles, I would like to see Daniel Bryan go back to singles and try to get back in the title picture, because we have SummerSlam around the corner. As of right now, I don't think Kofi Kingston has an opponent. That probably will get kicked off this week on TV. So maybe Daniel Bryan can get in that mix somehow. In a match that I predicted correctly, AJ Styles actually did defeat Ricochet to become the new U.S. champion. I usually don't predict quick title changes like this. I usually don't like quick title changes like this. But the way it felt on TV to me with AJ Styles turning heel and reforming the club and all of that, it felt like he had to win this title. Because if Ricochet went out there and won this match against AJ Styles with the club at ringside, that would have made them look really weak. So I didn't see any other way. So, Joe previously had the title, so maybe they just basically used Ricochet as a way to transfer the title from Joe to AJ, because AJ and Joe have already worked, and now they're both heels. That really wouldn't work out. So it was better to put the belt on a babyface for AJ Styles to turn heel against. And I think that's what Ricochet was basically used for there. And he was the very definition of a transitional champion. So congrats to AJ Styles. And I really hope the club takes off. I really hope with Paul Heyman in charge and changes taking place creatively that they at least do something fun with the club, and adding Balor to the mix I think would be a ton of fun. In a really fun match, we had Kevin Owens defeating Dolph Ziggler in about 15 seconds. As soon as the bell rang, Dolph ate a stunner and Owens got the pin and cut a promo after the match. I am loving this pipe bomb Kevin Owens. I had my doubts about him as a babyface. I kind of thought he was a better heel, but so far I'm loving it. And I guess they're setting up for Kevin Owens against Shane McMahon, and I'm assuming that will take place at SummerSlam. And it would be really cool if we could get McIntyre and The Undertaker as well. And that makes me wonder where that leaves Roman Reigns, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Next up, we had WWE title on the line, Kofi Kingston defending against Samoa Joe. Kofi beat Joe. And that's what I predicted. It feels like they've just been putting credible opponents in front of Kofi Kingston for him to knock off one after another until they find out when they want to take the belt off of him. And with SummerSlam coming up, I think that's a very high likelihood. And now that Brock is champion, Brock will likely retain through SummerSlam, and Kofi might drop his, if I had to guess. But as far as who Kofi is going to work with, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be a returning Bray Wyatt somehow, or if he's going to feud with somebody and have a match with somebody from SmackDown. And we're going to have a couple of contenders figured out between now and then for SummerSlam. So who knows what they're going to do there. But for right now, like I said, the New Day's got all the belts. And finally, in the main event, we had the big winner-take-all tag team Extreme Rules match, mixed tag team match between Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, defending their titles against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. And we had a feeling, I've been talking about this in my last couple of videos as well, once this match was announced, I told you guys that I had a pretty good feeling they're going to do some guy-on-girl physicality in this. And I didn't know if it was going to be intentional or by accident, but I knew it was going to happen, and it was definitely intentional. Pretty fun finish with Baron Corbin hitting the end of days on Becky Lynch, and that just ignites Seth Rollins. The look on his face, he goes absolutely apeshit, wears him out with a kendo stick and a chair, and then gives him not one, not two, but 3 curb stomps and pins him for the victory. And as soon as the match is over, out comes Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman had come out previously, a couple of matches before, and teased that Brock Lesnar was going to cash in his briefcase, but then said, am I telling the truth, or am I just being Paul Heyman? So we thought that maybe it could happen, but we were mostly expecting it to happen in the Kofi match. I thought Kofi would score a quick victory over Samoa Joe. Joe would snap, choke out Kofi Kingston, put him in a fucking coma, and then out would come Brock Lesnar to win the title. And then Brock is on SmackDown with that title, heading over to the Fox network with Roman Reigns on the same brand. A lot of star power over there. That's the direction I thought they were going in. But nope, Brock comes out, cashes in his briefcase, hits Rollins with a couple of Germans and an F5, and pins him, and wins the Universal title. Holy shit. I thought this was a great pay-per-view. It really was. There was a lot of wrestling this weekend. We had the continuation of the G1, we had Evolve's 10th anniversary show on the WWE Network, and we had All Elite Wrestling's Fight for the Fallen. There was a lot going on. And I thought this show held up and was probably the best of all of them, even despite what happened in the main event. And I knew that Brock Lesnar was going to cash in successfully. Brock Lesnar was not going to be Baron Corbin or Damian Sandow. If Brock is holding that briefcase, you can bet your mother's tits that he's going to cash that thing in successfully. And he will win the title. It was just a matter of when. And I thought they could drag it out, especially when Brock on TV finds out that he has a whole year to cash it in. It seems like his character would want to take his time and wait a whole year. But he showed up at Extreme Rules. They pulled the trigger now. This now puts Brock as champion going in to SummerSlam. And I don't know who he faces now. Who does he face? Seth Rollins again? To me, it's like they're going a little bit backwards. I'm not necessarily totally against Brock being champion, but I just don't think I really like the way they did it here, because it seems like they went through, or they invested a lot, in Seth Rollins getting that victory, the build-up between him and Brock, all of the history there. And I defended Brock Lesnar winning the Universal title in Saudi Arabia because I was saying, okay, look, if Brock wins the title, at least we know now that he's heading into WrestleMania to drop it to somebody. And that somebody will not be named Roman Reigns. That's a good thing. It's a very short list of people who have beaten this guy clean or beaten this guy at WrestleMania or for a championship or in any sort of a major match. Very small list. A lot of the guys on that list are legends. We need a current guy. We need a current champion on the roster that we see weekly to be able to say that he beat Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins was that guy, got the big match and victory at WrestleMania, and then they put the belt back on Lesnar. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this at all. I know a lot of fans were upset. I had some very unhappy people in the chat. And y'all are not wrong. You know, I'm not to the level of some people where they're like, I never want to see Brock, or nobody cares about Brock, or fuck Brock, or, you know, all the people that get all pissy and freak out. I'm not to that level. I actually like Brock. I still like Brock. The only issue I really ever had with Brock is the fact that he sat on his ass for most of the time when he was champion. Now, if he's not champion, he can come in as often as he wants. He can work a Chris Jericho schedule. I don't give two shits. But when he's champion, I don't want him champion for a fucking year and a half, which is what it was. And you've got a year and a half of TV without a title belt on your show. So when Seth got it back, it felt so nice to have the world title back. So this latest Brock Lesnar title victory, I hope it's short. I don't know if it's going to be as short as SummerSlam, but I hope it's not as long as WrestleMania, because shit. And I don't know if he drops it back to Seth, maybe at SummerSlam. Maybe they do something tomorrow night on Raw. I doubt it, but maybe. If something like that happens and it moves back to Seth, okay, I guess all is right with the world, but then why did they put it back on Brock to begin with? So I don't know what this means, and I don't know what is in their head for the future. And, you know, with me, I just want to see where it goes. If there is a purpose for this, if 3 months from now we say, oh, okay, I get it, that makes sense, then I'm totally cool with it. But the likelihood of us saying that is pretty fucking slim. So I don't know what WWE's thinking in their heads here. Not really a big fan of it. And yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I just wanted to give you those quick opinions on Extreme Rules. I thought the show overall was good. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. I mean, I thought the matches were good. We had 4 title changes, new IC champ, new United States champ, new SmackDown tag champs, and new Universal champ. That's a lot going on for this pay-per-view. 12 matches on this card. So overall, I thought it was a good show. The ending made me barf in my mouth a little bit, but what can you do? So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You guys be good. Thanks for listening. Catch me later on tonight on the YouTube channel for my live Raw reaction, and we will discuss this whole mess further and see what WWE has in store. I'll talk to y'all real soon. Peace.